Our guest today is Dr. Nancy Coleman, Dean of the Harvard Division of Continuing Education in Harvard Extension School. A visionary leader in lifelong learning, Dr. Coleman oversees a diverse portfolio including Harvard Summer School, professional and executive education, and more.
With a deep commitment to access, innovation, and inclusive education, she brings decades of experience across academia, corporate leadership, and online education. We're so honored to welcome her to Facts in Mind. Welcome, Dean Coleman.
Oh, hi there. It's nice to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Dean Coleman, we love what the Extension School does, and we've received a lot of questions for students that would love to learn more. So we're really honored to have you here, and thank you. I know you're taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. We would love to receive some answers for our students and for us to learn more about you and the wonderful work of the school.
Sounds great. Let's dig in.
So regarding lifelong learning and personal journey, you've led such a diverse career, from corporate leadership to founding educational initiatives. What first sparked your passion for lifelong learning?
I think the first thing that happened to me was I owned a consulting business with a partner of mine, and I was always the back end person building learning programs. And when I had an opportunity to get into the classroom the first time, which actually sort of happened by accident, and I stood in front of the room and I engaged with learners, and I saw the spark in people's eyes as they got to hear these new concepts that really resonated with them. I was really hooked, and I've always been a believer that this is important work and people need to continue to learn throughout their journey. But when I saw it firsthand as an educator myself, I think I haven't looked back since that moment, and really enjoy the opportunity to bring new programs and educational services and all kinds of things to life for a diverse array of learners.
And how has your own learning journey shaped the way you lead the Division of Continuing Education today?
Oh, that's a good question because I am an adult learner myself. I received my bachelor's degree through a very traditional school, and then I went to work and was fortunate enough to start an online, not an online, but a part-time MBA when I was working full time. So I took two courses, like many of our learners do, while working full time, caring for elderly parents and sort of maintaining a house. And I got to see what it was like to actually walk a day and our students' journeys. And then when it came time to get my doctoral degree, I did the same thing, continuing to work. And I think what that does is, first of all, as many of our learners know, the discipline that is inherent in that, being able to maintain your life, maintain your job, whatever personal things that you have going on, family care, whatever it is, and study. You really have to know yourself really well, and you really have to be able to pivot and adapt when necessary. So doing that myself, I just think helps give me a really deep understanding of what our learners are going through. And I also think it's an interesting opportunity for our learners to be able to actually integrate what's happening in their life real time with their education. That, I think, gives them a greater challenge, but also really enhances the learning opportunity in the classroom.
That's amazing. So I can see that you really understand what the students are going through, and it really shows in your leadership. You really care about the students. So I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
So, as alumni, we've experienced firsthand how life-changing Harvard Extension School can be. How do you see extension fitting into Harvard's broader mission of access and excellence?
Mhm. Well, I look at it this way. Extension School is one of the 12 degree granting schools within Harvard. And when you look at all of those schools, everyone has a unique focus, whether it's business or healthcare or discipline related focus. Our focus is truly on that part-time adult learner that can't come to campus for whatever reason, because maybe it's life that's happening at the same time, or people have chosen a different part-time pathway. So when the Extension School was founded in 1910, our mission was to create educational opportunities for the men and women of Greater Boston, which, back in 1910, to include women in that was pretty groundbreaking. And we have continued to do that, albeit we have changed the way that we do it and how that we do it over time to adapt to the modern learner. So we fit into that Harvard ecosystem by truly being able to serve students who, like I said, can't come to school full time, can't be in residence at Harvard as much as people might want to, but still offers an opportunity to partake in some of the rich resources of Harvard just on their own schedule.
And what would you say to someone who still views continuing education as less than traditional higher ed? How do we help shift that perception?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one I get asked a lot, actually. The reality is continuing education or non-traditional education, which is a better term, is actually becoming the new majority. There are more people enrolled in non-traditional learning than there are in traditional residential 18 to 20, for 18 to 24-year-olds. So I think we just need to really reframe what we mean by continuing education. And the challenge is that that term hasn't really been well defined. It could mean anything from what you both did, and that's got your degree part-time as a working adult, to, hey, let's offer a painting class for people, from 4 to 4:30 in the afternoon who are just looking for personal enrichment. So I think we just need to think about access and a part-time learning opportunity as a different thing. We've been using the term for the past few years anyway, and even my colleagues in this space, we sort of disagree on this, but I really love the term modern learning for modern learners, which means that it's just a new way of doing it for folks who have chosen a different pathway other than the traditional come to campus, have a residential experience. And I think rather than lock ourselves into a term which has old meaning, we just need to think about, well, what exactly do we mean by part-time education? What do we mean by non-traditional education? And frame it a little bit more broadly so people become to understand it a little bit better. And if I can add on to that answer, I think, I've been doing a lot of speaking and writing and thinking about the future of work lately. You both may have heard some of my statements about this, but I really believe that it's our job as educators, particularly educators of a non-traditional workforce, to be able to think about what is the future of work demand. The reality is that we need to learn new skills for jobs that we don't even know what they're going to be in 5 years. And somehow, my job and the job of my colleagues at DCE is to think about what do you all need and how do we provide it before it even exists yet. So the role of continuing education, if you will, going back to that term, is more relevant than ever. It's more just-in-time education, education when and where you need it. Those, they may not be sexy terms, but those I think are terms that are a lot more defining than continuing education.
I love that. Actually, I just recently had a conversation about this, and it's true. It's modern and realistic for our times. So I really love that you mentioned that. And DCE serves such a wide range of learners, from teenagers and pre-college to retirees. How do you design programs that meet such a diverse need while maintaining academic rigor?
Yeah, that again is a really great question. And I think one of the things that's been successful for us is we have program directors and we have different academic leaders that don't try to boil the ocean, but really focus on one demographic or one program set at a time. For example, we have someone who runs our management programs, right? She really thinks about what does management education look like. We have someone who runs our Harvard Institute for Learning and Retirement, so she focuses on what are the needs of this audience. So we really hire specialists who understand what the academic or personal enrichment needs of their particular audience are at any particular time. And I think, from a strategy perspective, and one of the things that I love most about my role is there's not a lot of schools out there that have the different dimensions of continuing education that DCE does, right? As you said, we could serve a high school learner through our summer school program. We obviously serve non-traditional adults degree seeking through the extension school. We've got professional and executive development, which serves more of an executive audience. And then we have the Institute for Learning and Retirement. So the continuum of that really creates an interesting opportunity that I find really compelling is how do we think about providing these educational pathways and opportunities for people wherever they are in their life in such a way that they're going to come back to us, right? So we're really trying to cultivate that long-term community of learners. Not to say that we can offer everything to everybody. That's, of course, unrealistic, and we wouldn't want to do that anyway. But I'll consider it a win in my role if people consider themselves DCE Harvard learners, and when they're looking for something new in their life, they just come to us and say, does DCE offer this, and is it a fit for me? So that, I think, is a really compelling opportunity.
It was such a wonderful experience to gain friends from around the globe thanks to Harvard Extension School. It gave me friends and community worldwide. What role do international learners play in shaping the culture and future of Harvard Extension School and DCE overall?
Huge. So DCE and Harvard and DCE in particular is a global organization. We serve learners from 127 countries across the globe. And you've both been through a commencement ceremony. You've seen like the world walks across our stage, and it's one of my favorite days of the year because of that. I constantly hear from our students and from alums and from our faculty, frankly, the criticality of hearing different voices from different areas around the world, different socioeconomic situations, different geographic situations, different political situations that bring their own experiences and opportunities to the table. And what that does is, it's such a cliche to say it diversifies the classroom, but it really does because our students constantly state that course learning from the faculty is something that they really desire and really value as an extension student, but the opportunity to learn from one another and folks who have just different lived experiences because of where they live just really makes, puts a period at the end of the sentence, as you will. So, and international students have been and will continue to be a critical component of who we are at the Extension School.
Harvard Extension is certainly an innovative program, and I once heard it described as far as an online program that it's the Harvard of online programs. And you in particular are a champion of innovation, both online and in hybrid learning. So what developments in education and technology are you most excited about right now?
I think that, I think we need to be careful about technology developments because I think sometimes, and certainly in online learning, we chase shiny objects, right? And I think one of the things that is foundational to us is really building things around a strong pedagogy model that really serves the learners. So one of the things that we're working on right now is we have a number of learners, as we just talked about international students that are located in time zones that are not conducive to the way that we deliver our programming. So how do we really create strong academic and collaborative opportunities for these learners that equal the ones who can show up for the live lectures and some of the things that are foundational to our program. So we've developed a tool called Immersive Classroom, which lets learners who are maybe consuming the content a little bit more asynchronously participate with others who might be viewing the content at the same time and allows them to actually interact with these. So that's one tool that I think is really important. I think one of the things that is out there right now is different ways to really build in community through the online learning experience because students want to be connected to one another. And I think, sometimes students are tired of Zoom and tired of just the basic Zoom. So how do we build in different functionality that lets people connect to one another online in a meaningful way and give students the the value and the connection opportunities that they're really looking for. Um, I think one of the obvious answers to the question is virtual reality. And of course, we have some projects underway where we're looking at virtual reality. I've been in online learning for a long time and I've seen trends come and go. Not necessarily sure yet about the long-term viability of virtual learning. I think it's not virtual learning, of virtual reality. Just to be clear, the long-term viability of virtual learning is here to stay. But I think it'll be interesting to take a look at some of the experiments in virtual reality and what it allows you to do with immersive worlds and virtual labs and different things like that. So that's something coming as well. And then of course gaming. Gaming continues to evolve, and I think especially for younger audience, gamifying learning in the right context is really interesting, and I think we'll see more sophistication in that realm as well. But no matter what the shiny object is or what the technology is, it's got to be led first with good, solid foundational pedagogy.
Yeah, in one of my last classes, I actually experienced the immersive classroom, so I know exactly what you were talking about there.
Right.
How do you see AI and emerging tools shaping the future of adult and continuing education?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that prompt. I probably should have mentioned AI as a technology tool, but I think AI is critical to our future. And, I'm proud to say at Harvard that we've really embraced AI and have thought about what are the right applications in the classroom. AI is something that is not going to go away. It's only going to expand its capabilities and, expand our capabilities of humankind. So our perspective on it is we need to teach students how to use it responsibly. And that of course means ethics, but that means things like how do we build better prompts? Like how do we use the tool effectively, but not lose our humanity at the same time? I know a lot of people are afraid of AI's long-term effects on humanity or even long-term effects on jobs. And I definitely think there's going to be some of that, but we've got to figure out a way that we can continue to enhance our human value and use AI in a way that lets us both coexist.
And we've noticed that your leadership is very inclusive. For example, you founded the Contemporary Women's Leadership Institute and have long supported women in leadership. How do you see continuing education contributing to more inclusive leadership across industries?
Thanks for that question. I think continuing education fosters inclusive leadership because by nature of what it is, it just allows more people to contribute and be included. And I think that we can all learn lessons from continuing education and see, because there's so many different people that we're dealing with, that we see a lot of different diversity and we see a lot of different approaches, which I think encourages folks who might need just a little bit more help or confidence building to find their leadership style. So, whether you're a woman or a person of color or, you have some other defining characteristic, I think the opportunity to see different aspects of leadership modeled by different people is something that really fosters more inclusivity in leadership. I know women's leadership is something that I've cared about for a long time. Before coming to Harvard, I worked for Wellesley College, which is a women's institution, and just doing some foundational work there to really help women understand how their voices can be heard, how they can lead effectively from a confidence and skill building perspective was really helpful to me, and that's something I continue to care deeply about. But really, women's leadership is just a metaphor for other inclusive ways of leadership as well. I think leadership to me is not a position, it's really a way of being or a mindset, and cultivating that as a personal journey in each and every one of us is something that my work has really focused on deeply.
And on that note, what advice do you have for adult learners who are juggling jobs, families, or financial challenges and may doubt whether returning to school is worth it?
So my first piece of advice is just try. Just try. The good thing about the extension school is because of our admissions model, and anyone can take a course, anyone can try and see if it's for you. But I also know that's easier said than done, right? Some people have financial challenges or time challenges. So my second piece of advice would be really do an analysis on what you're hoping to get out of the experience, and how you intend to balance it with life. Because if you're not clear on your goals, it can be difficult to focus when sometimes it will get hard, because it will get hard. You both know that at some point. And you have to be really committed to the reasons why you're doing this. A lot of times when you're in any personal enrichment program, whether it be education or a different aspect of personal improvement, people always say, find your why and know what that why is as your North Star. And I think that's true too for education. So whether it's just, for career advancement, for personal enrichment, for other aspects of your life, know why you're doing it and think about, what are you willing to give up or forego to be able to have this experience? Because you will at some point have to make that choice, whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's in lieu of, spending time on another hobby or another interest that you have. There will be trade-offs, and understanding why you're doing it, it will be critical to success.
So, what's something you've learned from your students or colleagues that continues to inspire you as a leader?
I think I have learned a lot about resiliency and
Mm.
about perseverance from our students, because I hear so many compelling stories every day of people who have overcome challenges, or people who have just dug their heels in and said, I'm committed to this experience no matter what. Um, and the reasons why people are doing it, whether it be for their families, for their kids, to model that, whether it be to get themselves through a tough time in their life, maybe with health challenges or financial challenges. The resiliency that our students model every day is so inspirational to me. And I think before you see it firsthand and before you sort of live it through the eyes of your student, it's easy to say, oh, okay, sure, I know this exists. But every single time I see students who have struggled or have been challenged in their academic journey with us walk across that stage at commencement, or earn their graduate certificate, or have some other milestone in their life that's a win, it makes me proud every day to be part of that journey and to be able to lead an organization that provides opportunities for people to exercise that resilience, to say what they can do. And I think one of the things that students say to me most often is, I wasn't sure I could do it. I just didn't believe in myself. And then they tried and they had some success, and that success bred more success. And that success built more confidence. And here they are at the end of their journey, and they've achieved this thing that they never could do it. One of the things that characterizes our learners is, certainly in the continuing education realm, in the part-time degree realm, if you want, there's lots of options for people, right? And those options are custom designed for, people of different types, right? But what characterizes our learner more so than any other thing is the fact that they want to be challenged by Harvard. I say all the time, I'm sure you both heard me say this, there are certainly easier, faster, and inexpensive ways to get a part-time degree. But our students are here because they want to be challenged by Harvard, and the resiliency and the pride of achievement that they get at the end of that, and even throughout it, is very inspiring.
Finally, what is your vision for the next chapter of Harvard DCE? Are there any new initiatives or shifts on the horizon that you're especially excited about?
Yeah, I think my vision for the next chapter is figuring out a way that we could create credentials for students that are shorter time to degree, shorter time to certificate, that we could be a lot more flexible around just-in-time career learning, which we know people want to be. We've been working a lot more with employers in the area and expanding geographically to really figure out what are they looking for as they're hiring employees. And not to say we're going to change our curriculum, because we're not, but some of the skills that employers are looking for, I think, are really important for higher ed institutions like DCE to understand, so we can help cultivate. So that's one thing, this whole like employer partnership, employer commitment that excites me about the future. But I'm also, as I mentioned, really excited about this end-to-end opportunity of DCE. You know, it's existed for a while in DCE. I don't know that we have capitalized on it the way that we should have, but I think especially as reskilling and upskilling becomes something that is not just nice to have, but required as we move forward into the next 5, 10, 15, or beyond years. Having DCE figure out how do we continue to be a player there? How do we continue to be a destination for people who want to come back to get the most up-to-date skills from the most incredible faculty who are scholar practitioners in the most flexible, convenient way possible? That's what excites me, and that's where we're going as we think about really filling out that portfolio to be more value added to our students.
Thank you so much, Dean Coleman, for joining us today and sharing your insights and expertise. It's truly been an honor to have you with us. I also want to do a quick shout out to your team, Amy and Harry, who helped set this up. Hi, Harry. It's so wonderful to have you here. Thank you for everything you do for the school. I've worked with you before too. I know how hard you work. Would you like to say a few words about what you do so our audience get to know you too?
Sure, I'm Harry Pierre, Associate Director of Communications for Division of Continuing Education. And thank you so much for having us and allowing Dean Coleman to come on and tell her story and her vision for the division and our students.
Thank you so much for putting this together and making this possible. Thank you, Dean Coleman, for agreeing to do this. It's really wonderful. I know a lot of people are looking forward to hearing this. And thank you to our listeners for joining us for this episode. Facts in Mind is a podcast for curious minds where big ideas meet real life meanings.
Be sure to follow and subscribe so you don't miss an exciting episode with the latest thoughts and research from our expert guest.